Creators, welcome to DaVinci Resolve over 40 in 30, and this is day 2. To day 2, we're going to dive in. Listen, I know yesterday was a little rough, but hey, that was my first day. Let's go. Now it's time for day 2. I'm feeling a little bit better, and I'm telling you, when you're learning something, spend about 15 minutes a day. I've been averaging about an hour because this is just a lot of fun. I'm really enjoying learning this, but let's dive in. Let's not take any longer because there's some things that I want to talk about that I might have screwed up yesterday. So let's tighten those guys up. We're going to pop over to DaVinci Resolve. Let's put you in demo mode. Now, one of the things I was talking about here is when I was adding clips, I went to my hard drive and I just dragged those clips in, right? So like in this folder here, I have a bunch of Osmo Pocket things, and then I have another folder here with some other Osmo Pocket things. If I were to drag this folder in, it would break this folder and all these extra pieces and just make them a whole bunch of clips. It would not give you all the individual folders. What you want to do, let me move this out the way, is if you right click here and go import media, or you'll notice there is a shortcut key in here, input media, there is the Command I. If you press Command I, it will allow you to then select that folder. And then if you select it from the folder top, like where the main folder, it will keep the folder structure. So like in here, you'll see I have these where I have added a bin called people and a bin called landscape. So what we're going to do is put the rest of these clips in a bin. So let's come here. I'm going to right click in this space and hit new bin. And we're going to call this bin objects. And then I'm going to add one more new bin, and we're going to call this graphics, right? Because that's how you would do it. So in this particular case, I would select these clips, which are objects, and I could just drag them in, and they would be there. And of course, this leaf, which I had left out, is technically landscape. So I'll go ahead and put that there. And so you have your timeline, and now you have your individual bins. So if I'm double click on the landscape bin, I see all of my landscape shots. If I click over here in the beginning of the interface and click on master, it takes me back to the top. And if I zoom out, just so you can get an idea of where we are, if you click in this little icon here, you can easily jump between the various bins just by moving around. Always hitting the word master takes you back to the top. So what's really cool about this, if you have nested, folders. So if you had landscape here, and let's say I added a new bin and called this one, say Japan, and I had all my Japan stuffs in here, you notice it's like the computer where I could go backwards and then get back to the master. So that's cool. I just wanted to pay real good attention to the media pool because this can get confusing for people as you get in. The other thing that's super important as we get in here, man, listen, my camera's missing. I'm looking at the wrong camera. The other thing that's super important as we get in here is that you learn how to save. Now I'm coming from Final Cut, and I'm just used to never having a save button because it just saves everything automatically. I'm going to show how to give a similar experience in Resolve for those of us Final Cut users who dang sure will be doing it wrong and mess around and lose something. Okay, so let's click back over here and click on the button. So up in here, you want to go to preferences, right? Which again, you can normally get to by scrolling here and finding preferences. It might be in the first menu. I just hit Command comma because it's Command comma in every Mac program. So want to do is click on this user button here. So I'll come here. You want to click on user, and I want you to see where you have live save. And then you want to have project backups turned on. This is not checked by default, so you want to have that turned on. And then you want to say timeline backups. Now I'm setting my backups to happen every minute. I have a relatively fast machine. It can keep up with it. If yours can't, you can change it to whatever you want. But just understand, if you have a slower machine, you might want to give it more time than once a minute because it could go crazy. I got hourly backups for the past 2 hours, and I'm doing daily backups for the past 2 days. That's just the way I'm going to set it up. And then you can set up where your backup location is going to be if you choose to put it somewhere other than your computer. So that's all there. So that's super important that you have that in position when you do your thing. So you go ahead and press save. Mine is already saved. So we're there. Okay. Now I have a timeline, and whenever you create a timeline, let's go ahead and create a new timeline, right? So if I go Command N that will make a new timeline. If you're not going to remember that, I get it, people. You can just right click in the media pool space, and the first icon there says, not first icon, the first list item says new timeline, but you'll notice there's the command N right there. So let's say we want to call this new timeline. All right, so you can specify how many number of tracks that you have. You can specify the number of audio tracks that you're going to have. You can pick your audio track type. So like if I'm going to do music, sound effects, and then let's say my alphonic track, I'll just put 4, right? And then my number of video tracks, you can go and add more as well. And it just doesn't matter, but I just want to let you know that you can go in and change it, and you can select whatever your audio type is going to be. And then this is where you have your project settings, okay? Now, this is assuming that it's going to take on the project settings that we've done in the past. But if you want to add your own, just uncheck this box. And then now you can come to format. And let's take this down to 1080. And let's do 1080 HD. That's this one. And then you leave square alone. And you can select your frame rate. I'm going to select 30. Know that once you put something on the timeline, unlike Final Cut, you can no longer change the frame rate. If you need to change the frame rate, you're going to probably go ahead and just make another timeline. It's just how it is. I believe you can copy and paste things once you got it there, but I ain't that far yet. Okay. And so this is where you would go ahead and create. We really don't need to worry about the rest of these at this moment in time, but that's what you would do if you're going to make a new timeline, and you would go ahead and create. And here we are with the new timeline. So if you needed to make adjustments to this timeline, over here in the upper right corner, there's this weird looking icon that looks like it has a bunch of arrows pointing at an image. This allows you, let me move over, to adjust the timeline here so that you can do that 4K, that 1080, that social media joint, and the square social media joint. Of course, you can go back and create custom timelines. So this is where you would change the timeline. If you're trying to create a new timeline, so you want to have one timeline that's your regular video and one timeline that's going to be your real video. Is really cool that in the same project you can make multiple timelines. I think this is dope, especially when you start making big projects or you're making courses. You can have easily to change your header and footer. You know, your logos, and that's going to be the same, but you can sort of go back and forth. So let's open back up this timeline that we have here, because I want to show you now how to load a backup. Okay. So if we were in here, and again, I would press Shift-1, which brings up this guy. I can right click on here and I can go to project backups, right? And if I click on this, you'll see all the backups of me while I was in here playing around. And I could just pick one of these backups and it will reload that backup. I'm not going to do it because I don't want to break what we just did, but that's how you would load a backup if for some reason something sort of went haywire and silly and you wanted to get back to where you were. So let me go ahead and close that. Again, Shift-1 brings up that main home menu. Also, if you don't remember that, because, you know, we're all brand new around here, down here on the bottom, there's a wee house icon. So if you come down to the wee house icon, that's your project manager. That basically does the same thing. So you got this little settings guy is where you can come in and adjust things as well. But hitting that little home icon or Shift-1 will bring up your ability to make those changes. That's how you can load a backup. So I just wanted to make sure we covered that, because yesterday completely screwed that up and wondered why it didn't respect my folder structure when I brought it in, but it brought it in. So we got that. We got the new timelines. We've made some adjustments there. Now I want to show you one other thing. I was messing around in here yesterday. So let's do the home button again for the regular folks, and let's bring this guy open. This was me in here yesterday, and this is the video that I shot yesterday, and I was just messing around looking for, ooh, don't do that. I want to not make noise. I was messing around in here yesterday, and I realized one of the things that's difficult for me as an old fart is I can't see that waveform, and I tend to edit by looking at the waveform. And I looked all over this whole freaking interface to try to figure out where that's done. It turns out it's way easier than you think. In the edit page, what you do is you just hold the shift key while you scroll your mouse wheel, and that handles that for you, right? But I believe you can also use the plus and minus, just like, you know, command plus, command minus. That's cool. But when you come back to the cut page, they're still kind of, you know, off kilter. Well, down here in the bottom corner, let me embiggen this. Right off to the side, there is this little arrow up and down, right? This guy is known as enlarge track, right? So if you click that, let me back out so you can see what happens. Bing, it brings it up nice and hugified. Take it down, bring it back up. I think this is cool because when you're editing and you got a bunch of tracks going, it will make it, easier to just embiggen and unembiggen at leisure so you can sort of see what you're doing. Okay, we did talk a little bit about cutting tracks. So let's say I wanted to mark this as an endpoint, and then I'm going to bring the cursor over to here and mark this as an out point. What I could do is just with this range selected here, I could just press the delete button and it'll close that hole, right? And now I have a new cut point. Under normal circumstances, and I showed you this yesterday, I could grab the edge and sort of slide that back and forth. I could also grab just the right edge and bring it out this way, or I could grab the left edge and bring it out this way, right? Sorry, people. There you go. I can just guess. If I press that, that shuts it up. Thank you. That's just a guess. I had no idea what that is, but now we know. Let me embiggen it so you can see. Come here, embiggen. In your speaker line here, you turn it on and off so you don't have to listen to yourself scrub. Okay. Normally when I'm editing, I am scrubbing. I can hear, but for the lesson, I don't want to confuse you. So again, if you see the little, let me embiggen this so we can see what we're doing. See, the right razor blade allows me to make it a little bit longer. If I go this way, the right razor blade makes it shorter this way. And then I can grab the whole razor blade and sort of slide back and forth to find out where that is. But there was one other thing that I wanted to show you. Okay, so in the timeline options, all the way here on the left, there's something called the timeline options. And if you click on this, at the very top, there's something called ripple on. The way that we normally edit in Final Cut and many other editors is what's known as a ripple editor. But in this way, if I go to move this, it's actually going to make a hole. This gray space is known as a gap, aka gap clip, right? So there's nothing in here. So if I knew that I wanted to place something else in there, that's a cool way to do it without messing up the timing of the other side, right? You could just pick this up and sort of move it over to create a gap so that way you don't lose your next word. And it has its place. I honestly say when you're first starting out, you kind of don't want to mess with that. So just know that it's a possibility. If you're ever like, I wish I could make a hole right here, you can. But what you're going to do is, again, come over to the timeline options and just uncheck that ripple on. So you can see I put the ripple back on when the check is there and the ripple back off when the check is not there. Another thing that I was trying to figure out yesterday that was just blowing my mind is down here on the bottom. In the timeline options, there is the option to understand the fixed playhead or the not fixed playhead. So let me turn this off temporarily, and I know it's going to drive me crazy, but that allows me to scrub down here too. And that seems like it's okay, but on a really, really big project or a really long project, that's going to be a little bit more nerve-wracking. I actually prefer in DaVinci Resolve, and I kind of wish FCP had it, the fact that you have this guy, which allows you to move around a heck of a lot quicker. Right. And remember, up and down keys jump you to your previous and last endpoints. So you can do that as well. And what else did I want to show you? Oh, let me show you another way to make a cut. So if I was to drag this guy to like right here, let me find a pregnated pause. Here's a pregnated pause right about here. You can drag from the timeline. So let's say I wanted to take out this pregnant pause. You could hit Command B to blade it, and then I can just come right here to this piece, and I can use the Shift left bracket to close that hole, right? If I wanted to do it the opposite direction, let me find the spot. Where does he have hugified pauses? Of course, and we get further into this, there is what is known as the AI space gap yanker outer. That did not make any sense. But let me put that there. I'm going to hit Command B. And then this time I'm going to hit Shift right bracket and there was nothing for it to do but hit shift left bracket. Ooh, you got to be selecting the guy. Here we go. Shift right bracket. It's not working. I'm assuming it's not working because I don't have enough space, but basically it would just trim it the other way if you had your clip set up right. So I wanted to show you that. And then the next thing that I wanted to show you, which is one more way to do this edit points. And this is all going to depend on your preferences as you play around with this and sort of figure out what you want to do. I like this actually. If I wanted to cut this out, say this was a swear word, I could put this here and right on this red timeline indicator, right click, and there is a skizzer. And then I could get over here. Ooh, don't move that. I could move this to the other word here and then right click and hit the skizzer. And now this is, you know, pick upable. You can slide around in there to make adjustments. I love that. You can also just hit the delete key and then it's gone. Other things that you can do with that once you have the skizzer in position. Let's see, let me do that so we only have one selected. You can right click and then pull that in. You can right click and pull that in. So I do love the fact that you can make these adjustments. Honestly, this is the best. Just moving the little slider in between. The smart edit is so cool. And that's whenever you have a smart edit available to you, you'll see this little white down arrow, right? So as you're looking at your interface, when you see that white down arrow, you have a smart edit capability. That was kind of the main stuff that I wanted to show you today here on day 2 as we work our way through this and sort of figure out what we're doing is that. And let me jump back to the other timeline real quick so I can press the little home and then I can use this. I wanted to show you a couple more things inside here. So let's go into the objects here and let's select these 2 pieces. If I want to put these 2 pieces onto the timeline, one of the things that I could do is go to the source clips here and then move this little red indicator and start about right there, press I for endpoint, and then I can move this guy to about right here and press O for out point, or I could just grab the bottom and shorten the out point there. Now, when it comes to adding these on the timeline, if we move this around, if I stuck this right here where it's in between, it's going to want to fill those into this position. Because these clips are already marked in the source tape, if I was to just drag this guy and place it right there in the middle, it fills up the whole smack dead in the middle right there. So you can tell I just added those 2 blue clips in between the 2 orange clips, and that lady swimming is the end, right? Now, no matter where I am in the timeline, say I wanted to put those again onto the end of this entire project. In this section here, it's how you're going to place your edits, right? So smart insert is what we did earlier where the thing was turning green and blue. Next to that, let me get a little big words. Next to that is the append. That's going to drop it at the end of the line. So if you're chaining a bunch of stuff together and they are in sequence, you want to drop something on the end of the line, all you have to do is click this button once you've marked your in and out points, which I think is incredible. You have a ripple overwrite, which will replace an area that you have selected, right? And I don't really use that much often. Here, real words. And then you have this new thing here called close up, which I'll show you next. And then there's place on top. And then there's source overwrite, which just replaces the whole clip. Okay, so let's unembiggen this real quick and show you what the kind of zoom guy looks like. That girl's already zoomed in. Let's go to the basketball dudes. Okay, so I want to take this guy and I want to hit the zoom and it put a new clip on top, but notice it's embiggened, right? And if I was to open the inspector, I can adjust sort of the zoom that way, and I can adjust the position so that you just see that face, that posterization. And then I can slide it down. And then I might want to pull the zoom out a wee bit. Oh, that's too far. I got to get it back over. Let me bring this, not the anchor point. Let me bring this back over. But that allows you to see that posterization, right? So I think that's cool. Because again, what the cut page is all about, this is not as technical as the edit page, but what it allows you to do is if you're just trying to create content and you got to cut things really quickly, like that's cool, right? I would actually extend this guy a wee bit longer and bring this guy a wee bit shorter because all we want to see is that dizunk, right? So you can come here and then let that play. Bam, face, right? So there you go. That zoom thing is coming real handy because, you know, when we're doing talking head videos, zooming in and out is a thing. So there's that. That's right here in the middle. That's the zoom function. And most likely you're going to be using the append or you're going to do like a ripple insert. So if, let's see, right here, we're going to put it on this marker here. And then we're going to click on the TV, which brings it up here. We're going to move that in just a wee bit. I like how you see how the numbers here let you see what you're adding and removing, which is really cool. So you can get super accurate with this. And then now if I have the, not the append, if I want to do smart insert, it's going to just jump that sucker down onto the bottom timeline because that's the master timeline. If we did it on the other insert, let me undo that. I want to put it here on the top. Then all I would do is drag it from here and place it right there in the top. So remember, if you press this over here, it's going to do to the master timeline, not the on top timeline, aka the B-roll timeline. And again, if I move these, it's going to slide them back and forth. But if I wanted to cut a hole, instead of going back over to here and turning off the ripple, this trick is cool. All you got to do is select the side you want and hold down the option key, and then you can make a hole. So that's another way you can generate a hole if you needed to, is hold the option key and that will generate a hole without you having to go back and forth and make those changes. Woo-hoo! There it is, family. Day 2, playing around with DaVinci Resolve is incredible. I know we have a lot more to go. We're going to be at this for a minute, but with those changes, just go record something, throw it in the timeline, mess around with all the things I showed you today. Let's give you a quick breakdown again. You want to go into preferences and you're going to want to set your live save your project backup, and your timeline backups. I personally set mine for 1, 2, and 2. You can adjust it however you want. If you need to load it back up, all you need to do is, look at the right camera. All you need to do is right click in that space or do Shift-1 to get to the home, or hit the house icon, and then you'll right click in that space and you'll see where you can load backups. And I just wanted to remind you that if you want to import footage and maintain folder structure, you're going to want to use Command-I or right click in the media pool and import media, and then click on the top level folder. It will bring all the other folders in, and the word we use in tech is recursively, but it'll keep everything in the right format, or right structure, so you don't lose all your stuff. And then don't forget that you can move the timeline header where you want to chop something, right click on the red scrubber in order to get to the scissors, which allows you to cut, or you can use Command B, which allows you to cut. There's that. And then you can uncheck ripple. I probably wouldn't do that. Use the option key to make a hole if necessary. And then when you use the enlarge track button, so if you need, dang it, look at the right camera. I'm going to put my studio back together. I took my deck link out to go do a conference, and so I'm using this Insta360 link as my camera right now, and I'm looking at the teleprompter. It's a whole wrap. Never mind. Anyway, if you click on that enlarge track button, it will allow you to enlarge tracks. Day 2 is a wrap. Oh yeah, and the new one we figured out, you can click on the speaker to tell it to stop making noise while you're scrubbing. Day 2 is a wrap. We got our DaVinci Resolve over 40 in 30, day 2 in the bucket. We're going to get on to day 3, and we're just going to keep progressing until we figure this dang thing out. Right now, I just want to get the interface down. I'm not really sweating the edit parts because I think it's important that you know the interface. I think one of the reasons why people think apps are hard or whatever is they don't learn the interface, and I like to learn the interface first. That's the buttons and stuff, if you don't know what that word means. Just where everything is located, it makes life a lot easier. I can tell you right now, from the minor things that I've done so far, there are many things that I enjoy and Resolve that I'm saying to myself, Apple, why don't we have that yet? And I just started playing. I have only scratched the surface. I'm not going to give a full, I think it's better yet. And also, I got like mad years in Final Cut, so it's going to be a little hard to get there. But hey, thank you guys for riding along. I don't know who needed to hear this, but if it was you, let me know in the comment section below. Again, I don't know what I'm doing. So if you got tips, tricks, things I need to know, let's go. Matthew Pate hit me up yesterday and said there's some really cool things that you can do by changing the shortcut keys to make them the way you like them. And we'll get to that. I don't want to change that stuff right away just now because I don't want to confuse you guys. Like, for instance, in Final Cut, I don't use Command B. I set it to just B because you're going to hit it so often, I don't need 2 keys, right? So we'll get into adjusting some of that keystroke stuff later, but that is one of the ideas that is available to you, and there's so much more to go. If you like this video and you want to see what happens as we learn DaVinci Resolve 20 over 40 in 30, hit the subscribe button, hit the like button, ring the notification bell so you never miss another one of these absolutely launched out videos. And right about now, the algorithm's going to show you another video to think you should watch. And I agree with him. Like yesterday's video. Go watch that and see what a train wreck it was. And let me know what you think. Anyway, let's go.
I need to know everything. Who and the what and the where. I need everything. Trust me, I hear what you're saying, but act like it's new what you're telling me. I'm curious, George. I hop in the Porsche, 5 and a horse. I'm ready for war. I'm coming for throats to turn to a ghost. I need to know everything. Now you be surprised at the info you get is by letting them talk, so I'm letting them talk. Gotta keep quiet.